What's up, Grace Girls? Welcome to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast, where we focus on helping Black women change their lives by discarding negative thoughts, pivoting in the right direction, and shifting their mindset through cultivating a trauma free lifestyle. I'm your host, Courtney Kristen, educator, content creator, life coach, counselor, and mental health enthusiast living in Houston, Texas. I created the Allow Yourself Grace podcast because I wanted to create a space for Black women to share their thoughts, feelings, and stories that make them who they are without fear of judgment. Allow Yourself Grace provides emotional support and encouragement within the Grace Girls community for women in need of non biased opinions from women other than family and friends. Personal development, self care, career, faith are among many of the topics we will discuss on this platform. Allow Yourself Grace podcast is here to encourage Black women to live unapologetically and thrive in being authentically who they are and were designed to be, an entire vibe. No topics are off limits. We will cover it all. Now, grab a notebook, pen, sit back, and enjoy the show. What's up? What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Allow Yourself Grace podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Kristen, and I'm so happy to have you guys. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you're watching me on YouTube. If you are on a different platform, don't forget to follow this podcast so that you are notified when I post episodes. Super excited to have you guys. This is episode number 10. Yay! We are closing out the first season of the Allow Yourself Grace podcast, and I'm super excited. So happy to have all of my Grace Girls that are supporting me and following me. I definitely appreciate it. And I just love having you guys here, and I love having you guys a part of my community. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for where the last 9 episodes have taken me, and I assess them, and I have some things that I'm going to change for the new season. And again, if you are looking to be a guest this next season for season 2, go ahead and just message me, comment below, however you need to get in contact with me, make it happen so that we can link up and do the thing, girl, because I'm excited. I'm excited to have you guys on. I kind of wanted to do the first season myself just to kind of get a feel for, how I wanted things to flow and the things I needed to change and things like that for me as a host, a solo host, before I brought people on. Because on the podcast that I do with my husband, it's different because I'm a co-host and we work together. And so just having my own thing, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm just coming into who I am as a solo host. And so I'm loving that. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah, so episode 10. The topic for today is dealing with seasons of conflict. Woo, this is going to be a heavy one. We're going to close out the season real good with this one. Dealing with seasons of conflict. Our quote for today is, "Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it." Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. So having peace in your life doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have conflict. That's not what that means at all. Peace means that you have developed the ability over time to cope with any conflict that you may encounter on your journey. That's true peace. Women, especially, we get it twisted. We think that peace means that everything is going to go great. There's not going to be any conflicts. You're not going to have any trouble that arises in your life. And everything's going to run smoothly and I'm at peace. And anything that brings me conflict, I'm going to exit out of my life because I don't want conflict. That's not how life works, right? We have to develop a coping mechanism. We have to learn to cope. We have to develop the ability to cope because conflicts are going to come. The question is, are you able to cope with it? Today, we're going to start with tips for managing conflict because that's what this is all about. It's not about eliminating conflict. It's about learning to manage conflict and to manage it properly. The first thing is accepting it, accepting that conflict is going to never go away. It's never going away. Okay? Remember that conflict is natural. It happens. You have to have an ongoing relationship with conflict. It's natural. It's going to happen. We're interacting with humans every day. We're driving cars every day. We're going to jobs every day. We're doing business every day. Conflict is going to happen. Are you able to cope? Be a calming agent. Like, calm yourself before you even attempt to deal with conflict. If you're escalated, it's going to be hard to de-escalate a situation. If you're already up here, you're already on 10, it's going to be hard to resolve conflict, to be okay with a problem, be okay with something going wrong. It's going to be hard when you're already like beyond the point of calming down. So you want to be calm, cool, and collected when you're dealing with conflict. So if you need to take 10 seconds to walk outside or just take a moment before you respond, that's what you got to do, because it's going to be hard and it's impossible for you to deal with conflict when you are all worked up. So we're going to need you to bring it down and then we can get there. It's funny when I run into kids who are crying, it's like, tell me what's wrong. And they're like, and I'm like, if you're crying, I can't hear you. If you're crying, I can't. What? Still trying to tell me, right? And they're crying. You're crying, I can't hear you. When they stop crying, they can tell me, right? They can articulate what's wrong. They can describe what happened. They can go into detail. But if they're crying and they're escalated, I don't understand anything. They don't understand anything that I'm saying because they can't hear me. I can't hear them. And nothing gets resolved. Nothing gets resolved because it's like, and I stay calm because you're already escalated, right? They're already crying. They're already upset. So somebody has to be calm in the situation. And that's what I have to tell adults all the time. It's like, if you are escalated, you cannot de-escalate the situation. So I need you to calm down before you even respond, before you even react. I need you to calm yourself. Take 5. Sometimes we have to tell ourselves, like, take 5. Because you're up here, girl. You're up here, and I'm going to need you to bring it down. I do that a lot for myself, because if you respond when you're up here, that thing going to go through the roof. I'm telling you. It's going to go through the roof. And the conflict, you don't even remember what the conflict is because you're so
in a rage and you're so worked up that you done forgot what the conflict was because you're not calm, no one's calm, and it's crazy. So that is major, major, major. That should have been number one, because you want to enter the situation when you get into problem solving mode, you want to go in calm. Number three, listen actively. Be attentive, be alert, be engaged in the conversation. Actively listen. Listen. Listen to what's going on. Listen to what's happening. Hear the people out. I learned that like from dealing with bill collectors too. It's like, especially when you're like, hey, like you're calling me, like, first of all, you're like, what? And they're saying, oh, you owe this amount of money. And you're like, it's easy to get crazy. Let me tell you, that's easy. But the hard thing is remaining calm and communicating and really, really trying to manage the conflict and deal with the situation. That's the hard thing to do. The easy thing to do is get upset. The easy thing to do is react. And, we have to choose our hard and we have to choose our easy in life. And when dealing with conflict, please take the easy route. Take the easy route. I'm sorry, take the hard route. Say take the easy route. Take the hard route, because the easy route is just going to be harder on the back end. That's what I meant to say. It's going to be harder to deal with on the back end because you're just going to have a lot of mess to clean up. And it's like you're going to be saying things you didn't mean to say. And it just makes the situation a lot worse. And sometimes you don't even remember what you said. So calm, analyze the problem, what's going on. Let me think about ways I can resolve it. Let me, really, really just try to really find ways to resolve the issue. Like, come up with ways to resolve the issue before you go through the roof. Because there's going to be seasons of conflict in our lives. That's inevitable. We can't avoid it. We can't go around it. But what we can do is find ways to deal with it, find ways to cope. How can we get through it? How can we get through it? Sometimes that's coming together with other people and coming up with solutions. Keeping each other encouraged throughout the season. Like, there's different things that we can do to help us cope during this season of conflict. I know when my mom died, I went through a season of, it was just like everything was happening. My mom died. I wasn't working, so I couldn't pay my car note because I was at the hospital with my mom. I moved back in with my grandparents. I was already going through a season of separation from a relationship. Like, all these things were happening, and I was just like, I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to deal with this stuff. And so it was just a lot. And I had to literally take everything piece by piece, like bit by bit. Okay, let me tackle one problem at a time, because it was just a lot. And I think that's where we struggle, is when we try to take on everything. We try to take on every conflict that we're having, because sometimes things happen back to back. We try to take it all at one time. So I'm trying to handle all this stuff at one time. And it's like, okay, I got to handle one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Like, there's no rush. I'm only one person. Let me handle one thing at a time, because I found myself always in a rush, always with a sense of urgency, trying to resolve conflicts. And it's like, dude, I'm only one person. I have to take this bit by bit. I have to analyze the situation. I have to listen. I have to see what's going on. I have to be calm. I have to move with grace. I have to move with fidelity. Like, I have to be so meticulous about the moves that I make during the season, that I can't rush. I can't afford to rush. And so I think just slowing down and really taking time to analyze the conflict is so important, because these seasons are going to come often, right? These seasons are going to come often because, as I mentioned before, it's a natural thing to have conflict, especially when you're interacting and dealing with other humans and life is happening. Because one thing, like for me, when I talked about my mom passing away, it's like death is something that we none of us can stop. When it happens, it happens. We can't bring people back. It's just something we have to learn how to deal with and how to accept. So things like that are going to happen. They're going to happen. And we have to make sure that we're equipped with the tools to cope and deal. Will you ever get over things like that? No, you're never going to get over your mom dying. Like, I can't name one person that I know that has lost a parent that's over it. You're not going to get over it. You're not going to get over it, but you do learn how to deal. You do learn how to deal, and you learn that life happens. Life happens. And I have to learn how to deal. And you will develop those survival skills. You will develop like things that make you feel better. You know, like for me, I like to do things in memory of my mom. So like if I see something purple that I like, I'll get it in purple just to kind of, remember her by. That was her favorite color. But like there's little things you can do, you know, is it gonna ease the pain all the way? No. And so if you're a person that's going through conflict right now in your life, maybe you lost a loved one or you lost your home or you've lost something valuable to you, just know that it's only a season. It's only a season. It's only a season. And just to be a calming agent in the situation when you're trying to deal with things, you're trying to handle things, just ask God to give you that calmness that you need. Because the rage and the anger and the being upset, those things are going to come, but just ask God to be a calming agent for you, because you're going to need that calmness in this season of your life. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. Nobody can give it to you but him. It's an indescribable thing. But if you pray and you ask him for it, he'll give it to you. Try to model the language and behavior that you want to see from others during conflicting times. Like try to model that, like what you would like to see from others. Like what I want to see when people deal with conflict is like, okay, what can I do? Like, let me calm myself. Let me take a deep breath. I want to see people taking those steps, because I just believe that's what God wants for us. He wants us to have calmness. He wants us to have peace. He wants us to have those coping skills. And he has everything that we need. All the answers are in him. I rest in him so much. Even when I get nervous and when I get scared and when I get afraid, it's like I have to remember whose child I am. I have to remember who has the authority. I have to remember that I'm not doing this on my own. I have to remember that with him I can do all things. I have to remember that he's never going to leave me lonely. I have to remember that he always has my best interests at heart. He has my back. Even when I can't see him, he's there. He's there. He's there. He's there. He brought me to the conflict. He's going to help me get through it. What am I resolving by escalating to a 10? What conflict am I resolving by throwing stuff, by hitting the wall, by slamming doors, by I'm not resolving anything. So I have to confide in him. I have to trust that he's got me, and that if he's letting me wake up every day, that he has a purpose for my life. That he has a purpose for my life. And the purpose is not only to have seasons of conflict. So if you're out there and you're feeling like there's always problems, there's always something, just know it's only a test of your faith. It's only a test to say, let me see if you're really going to lean on me. Let me see if you really trust me like you say you do. Let me see how much I can put on you to see if you're really going to lean on me, because we're trying to do everything on our own. We're trying to be our own calming agent. We're trying to learn to accept conflict on our own. Like, we can do nothing on our own. It's in him that I move and I have my being. Like, it's in him that I have the ability to operate and to be great every day. I have the activity of my limbs. He's not going to create something and disconnect from it. He created you in his image. He's not going to create something and disconnect from it. You always have that connection. And if you feel like you've lost it, you can get back to it. He's waiting. He's waiting. He wants you to have life. He wants you to have the things that you desire. But you have to trust him, and you have to lean on him, and just know that he supplies all of our needs. I just believe that. I've been without. I've seen it for myself. He supplies all of our needs. But if you don't believe that for you, nobody can make you believe that but you. Nobody can make you call on him but you. Nobody can make you lean on him but you. It's something you have to do for you. So if you always feel lonely, if you always feel like you're missing something, if you feel like things aren't going right, try leaning on him. That's the least you can do. That's the last resort some of you have, because you've tried everything. You tried getting into a relationship. You've tried smoking. You've tried drinking. You tried going out every night, spending time in the clubs. Like, you tried all these things and nothing is filling the void. It's because you're missing him. You're missing him, and you're missing that connection. There's 5 ways to deal with conflict. Is accommodation, like being accommodating where you are. Like, if there's a problem, we're going to stay here till we fix it. It's usually a lose-win situation. Compromise, like knowing that you may not get everything you want in the situation, but you're going to get some of the things. That's compromising. Competition. Compete with yourself. You're your only competition. Be better than the person you were yesterday. Because I promise you that the seasons of conflict is temporary, sis. It's temporary. You have what it takes. You have what it takes. And with the help of God, you can't lose. You can't lose with him on your side. One thing I love is when the devil want to play with me. Like, my husband laughs because I'm like, oh, so the devil want to play today. He don't want to play with me because this is not what you want. This is not what you want. You don't want this, because I'm not giving up. because I hit a little conflict. I hit a little bump in the road. You think I'm gonna give up? You think you got the best of me because I'm crying today, but I'm gonna be ready to fight tomorrow. So, I mean, that's how you have to talk to the devil. Like, you gotta talk to him like, boy, you nobody. I don't have time for it. Like, those are the kind of relationships you should have a authentic relationship with God where you can talk to him like you're talking to your friend, like you're talking to your sister or somebody on the phone. Like, you should have that kind of relationship. He knows you. He knows you. He knows. He already knows. He already knows. He already knows who you are. He created you. So I don't want you to feel like you have to be at a church or you have to be in a certain place in your life to talk to God, because you can just have a regular conversation with him. He's always listening. He's always listening to you, and he always is just waiting. He's just waiting for you. He's always waiting for you. 4 steps to resolve the conflict. Oh, I think, yeah. So the 4 steps I have left is also communicate. Open communication is key in any dispute. So if you're having a conflict with someone, talk about it. You know, talk about it. Try to come up with ways to resolve it. Um, Sometimes cutting ties is a way to resolve it. Review options. Let's talk about options. Let's talk about solutions. Because ultimately we want to win. Like, we all want to win, and we all want to be happy. We all want to be satisfied. Sometimes it just takes communication. It just takes time. Sit down, think about what's going on. That's the issue that I have with a lot of reality shows. It's like, I watch the show, it's great. You know, a lot of our Black women have shows now, which is great, but I wish that they would show more of the conflict is fine, but show more of the resolutions. Like, once everybody's calm, because on the reality shows they're gonna escalate. But show the once everybody's calm, what happens, and like them talking about it. And they show some of it, but I wish they would show more of it, because as much as people say, oh, it's drama, I mean, but it's conflict and resolution as well. Like, it shows conflict and resolution, because sometimes people can come to mutual ground where we can exist, we can coexist, you know? Because it's not all the time that you're just gonna mend friendships. But if you're able to coexist and you're able to respect each other, what more can you ask for as a mature adult? And I think that's just how situations are sometimes. It's like, you may never be friends with a person again, but can I be around them? When I see them, can I say hi? Like, that that's okay as well. Like, that's okay as well. Sometimes the season has ended for your friendships. Sometimes it's just time for things to come to an end, and that should be okay, right? That should be okay, as long as the conflicts got resolved. It's not something we can avoid. It's gonna occur every day. Um, is conflict your whole day though? No, it shouldn't be your whole day, because you should be able to come up with some type of resolution where you can still go home and sleep good, right? You don't want to hold on to things. You don't want to hold on to the past. You don't want to hold on to things that's bothering you. Like, you have to deal with it in order to move on from it, or it to just be a season. Because if not, you'll find yourself carrying it over into other seasons of your life, and it's like, man, you should have taken care of this last season. What's going on? That's like those grudges that people hold. Like, you're holding grudges when the whole thing could have been resolved in 5 minutes, probably, if you would have just communicated how you felt. You know, that's stuff that can be resolved. That's stuff that you can talk about as mature adults. Like, have a conversation. It's always a simple conversation. Um, another oh, what's this name? Another form of whew, conflict is, say you get locked out of your car. How do you resolve that situation? Are you gonna cry? Are you gonna call somebody to come? Like, what are you gonna do? How do you get into problem solving mode? That has happened to all of us. Like, I really want us to get to a place where, oh my God, Whew, Lord, this is gonna be. Oh, I'm about to wrap this up, y'all, because I keep sneezing. I want us to come to a place to where, number one, we learn to depend on God. Number two, we learn to communicate. And number three, we learn that conflict is natural. We learn that conflict is inevitable and it's not going away, but it's imperative that we learn how to cope. And I'm going to end with this because, ooh, this cold, guys, is getting the best of me. Conflict is inevitable, but combat is optional. When are you going to start fighting back? Stop letting it get the best of you and use your best weapon, which is God. Use him. That's what he's for. He's waiting for you. Start fighting back. Start taking charge. Start taking the lead in dealing with your conflict because it's not going away, but coping is what matters. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Well, guys, that concludes our episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Allow Yourself Grace podcast. For additional information about today's episode, please click the link in the show notes below. To learn more about our Grace Girls community and other resources we have to offer, head over to www.allowyourselfgrace.com. Until next time, Grace Girls, I love you all. Be blessed and continue to strive for success.